Hi, and welcome to Travel Insights, powered by the leading travel and tourism daily news portal, traveldailynews.com International Edition. We are celebrating 24 years of existence, and we have a special episode brought to you this Wednesday as well. We're streaming live on our website as well as on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Thank you for tuning in and watching us wherever you are watching us from and from wherever on the whole wild web and world you're watching us from. I'm Chris Escodra, and in this interview series, weekly, I have the chance to interview inspirational thought leaders, professionals, academics, in practitioners in the tourism and travel and hospitality industries. And those experts share their unique insights and expertise with me and with you out there listening. Today, my special guest is Euan McGlashan. Welcome, Euan.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join me here on Travel Insights. I know you're very busy. You have a flight to catch shortly. So thank you so much. You are a Scottish man and you're living in the US. You are a global hospitality expert. You came from humble beginnings, but you are currently the global. You're the global co-founder and CEO of Valor Hospitality Partners. Tell us a little bit about the highlights of your career.
Yeah, there's no short story there, but really, yes, I grew up in Edinburgh in Scotland, immigrated to Cape Town, South Africa when I was 23, 24. Had a fabulous career there, ending with being given a great opportunity to build an international hotel called Cape Grace, which won multiple awards, including Best in the World with Condé Nast Traveler. And I was headhunted to the US back in around 2000. But in 2010, I started Valor right on the end of the huge depression over here, really to help owners and lenders really make sense of the hospitality business. And if you fast forward to today, we're now about 95 properties around the world, 10 countries, 60 cities, and we're about 7,000 people strong. So it's been a heck of a journey.
Great. So, as you said, your portfolio is global. You have a global team. You have received numerous awards. So, you are an award-winning hospitality expert. And today, you will help us understand and dig deeper into the topic of reimagining hospitality, how to design and how to transform assets, hospitality assets for long-term success. So on the one hand, we have the new development and design, and on the other hand, we have the repositioning and rebranding of such properties. Before we dig deeper into today's topic, let us set the stage and look at the big picture. What is the current state of the hospitality industry in your opinion? What has changed? And is the way that hotel owners did business 3, 4, 5 years ago the same as they do today?
Well, there's enough in that question to to have a whole hotel conference. Look, there's no question that COVID was one of the most stressful times of our lives, and was massively damaging to any hospitality industry. You know, airline travel, hotels, pubs, bars, restaurants, cinemas. But I think we're still trying to make sense of it from a performance perspective. Performance has stayed strong. I think there was a tailwind, people locked up for 2, 3 years, desperate to get back out. And obviously, if you want to vacation, the first thing you think about is, in most cases, is a hotel or resort. So financially, we continue to see relatively good trading, although it's slowing down. There's certainly been a slowdown in corporate business. We're seeing social group business come back, but corporate business is still a little soft. Overall, the health of the industry is actually quite good right now, but there's no question as interest rates keep rising with inflationary pressures, war, supply chain,
Mhm.
we are starting to feel some of those headwinds, and I suspect the next 12 to 18 months we might see some slowdown and face a little bit of a rocky road.
Hmm. So you touched upon the challenges and some of the opportunities, and you said that the health of the industry is looking good. Um, Given this current state, as you described it shortly, because it's a big question, we can dedicate a whole episode on this topic. But what is it important, and how important it is for hotels to be correctly positioned and branded? And if we look at today's topic, the first part of it, how to design and brand successful hotels, how important and what parameters are taken into consideration where branding and designing a new hotel concept?
Well, again, you prefaced it. We could sit here for the next 3 hours talking about that. It's a big question. Obviously, as we get approached by clients, they have a market in mind, so they live in a particular city. So obviously, when we go in and we do a feasibility study, we look to see what's already in the market.
Mhm.
What are going to be the economic drivers to fill the hotel? Who are the competition going to be? And what is that? What in terms of getting market share? And clearly, you want to get fair market share and beyond. What is it going to take to achieve that, and who are you attracting? So that's number one. Number two, the brand, if it's not independent and it's a brand, the brand landscape today, as you know, is a minefield. I mean, all the big hotel companies, Hilton, IHG, Marriott, Hyatt, etc., have multiple brands and continue to bring more brands out. And clearly, you've got from what they largely call select service all the way through to luxury. So we obviously understand from the client, where do they want to pitch, and we say, yes, you're right, maybe you're wrong, and we give them some options around what we think we can achieve from a financial commercial performance. So a lot goes into it. We have good relationships with some of the brands in particular, and we'll certainly go and look to those. But what you're trying to get is unaccommodated demand. So if you're in a market where there's a couple of the big brands, you're going to be looking at alternatives where you think you can really grow market share. And a lot of these hotel companies today, they're 100 million plus in terms of reward members, and you're going to look for brand.com to drive traffic to the business. And then separate to that, I think what makes us quite unique, I know you're showing a picture of the
Yeah,
Harpeth,
absolutely. Hmm.
the Harpeth in Franklin, Tennessee, which is amazing.
Hmm.
Now, that owner came to us. We looked at the brand landscape. In this case, we felt that Curio was the right decision. But a
Hmm.
lot of what we do, that shot that you were showing a second ago, is actually the reception area, which is meant to feel more residential, and everything surrounding that is lounge and library. It's all revenue generating space. And then as we get to talking about food and beverage, everything that we do, we design with driving locals into the business. So in the Harpeth in particular, the when we designed it, the restaurant sits on one corner, there's a cafe bar that sits on the other, their own external entrances, and then we drive local traffic in. So actually, the restaurant, the Harpeth, is called 1799. It's the number one restaurant in the market. It drives traffic in, which there in turn grabs guest capture. But we try to very much in a lot of our design make the guests feel at home and think about all the services that they may need. So yeah, but there's a lot of factors that you need to take into account, and that hotel has been wildly successful, and from a star report market share perspective, has often hit RGIs above 200, which is generally unheard of. So that's one of the great success stories.
You've touched upon the factors that come into play because it's a complex process. I would like to dig a little bit deeper and ask you about Valor Hospitality Partners, your company's unique approach. How do you tackle new hotel development, and in terms of the components of hotel concept design and more immaterial points such as the importance of the sense of place, the importance of storytelling, the identity. So not only the brand image, how we want to be perceived, but what is the brand identity of the property? How does it tie? Does it tie with the local community, with the hotel owners, or what's the story? Tell us a little bit about those more immaterial components, and of course how they in turn they're incorporated into the design.
Yeah. Well, look, I won't bore you with telling you about what we do at Valor because we're a full service company. So I actually get personally involved in a lot of the design development, but we have a design development team, a project team. We just don't project manage the physical building, but we do everything else. And we have a seat at the table. We often help the owners pick the architect, the interior designer, engineers, etc., etc. So in terms of what we think about, you hit on it. We definitely sense of place is important, and I think if you use the Harpeth and Franklin as a really good example, we look at the landscape around. So Franklin itself has got a very rich Civil War history. It's Middle Tennessee is big equestrian. Tennessee is very well known for bourbon whiskey. So we try to bring a lot of those elements into the design and development process. And then as you said there, then you're giving guests that real sense of place when they walk in the door.
And this is what perhaps differentiates the property amongst the very first competition, right?
Well, we've
Or
we've all
one element that differentiates.
it's one element, but I think, certainly, as I said to you before, food and beverage is, for me, still remains a differentiator. There's a lot of management companies that compete with us that do not have a food and beverage expertise. We have our own food and beverage company. So we concept,
Mhm.
team, design, deliver, and then operate. And generally, and touch wood that we continue to do this, we drive great profitability and great commercial results, which often in hotels is not the case for food and beverage. So that's a differentiator. We make everything revenue generating space. We try to make the whole guest journey seamless and easy to move between spaces, and every space has its own feel. So we're cognizant of that. We're also cognizant of trends, whether it's around health and wellness, etc. And then we understand that we have to maximize profitability. And I guess the last piece that we probably should talk about, because it's massively important to us as a company, is corporate social responsibility and environmental and sustainability. So we do try to design and develop now with a very green mindset.
So a lot of things, and I think you're on the right track. I've seen your website and the great work you do there. So for more information, check out this valorhospitality.com website as well. Let's go back to today's topic. So we touched upon the new development, hotel branding, hotel design, the key components of a hotel concept design. Now, you and your company have a distinguished reputation when it comes to transforming hospitality assets in terms of not only renovation, but also repositioning, revitalizing, both for branded and also independent hotels. So I don't know if you want to make a distinction amongst the two, but I would like to ask you how important the correct positioning is, and how complex of a process it is, and what are the steps to really reposition hotel real estate and making it future proof. Tell us a little bit about the data you analyze. You touched upon, but dig deeper now. And how do you go about it? What data do you analyze? What qualitative and quantitative assessments do you conduct? And before you make proposals for your clients.
Well, I can only talk in real life experience because it's much easier for me because we're very active in that space. So let's I always prefer to use examples. So we have a large portfolio in the United Kingdom, and this portfolio was the worst performing franchise portfolio in the UK, which today is the number one performing franchise portfolio in Europe. So what did we do? So at the basic level, when we review that, so let's not talk about what we did when we helped our client underwrite. The client bought the portfolio, and we saw a lot of upside. That's why we were very keen to encourage them to buy it. So beyond the fact that it was actually mismanaged, and what does that mean? It means they weren't the culture wasn't right, the commerciality wasn't there, and the overall quality of the assets, they were quite dirty, they were not well maintained. So I kind of refer to that as a little bit of low hanging fruit. But
Mm-hmm.
then we went and we looked at the portfolio. I'm sure you're familiar with the term, and I know certainly all the listeners will be. As a brand has a term called a PIP, Property Improvement Plan. And when you buy a portfolio, the brand use that as an opportunity to say, okay, it's a change of ownership. We need a change of ownership PIP. In this case, they were right to want that. And we looked at it. But not only do we look at the assets themselves and where can we add a lot of that value, we look at the assets and say, is this actually the right brand, or do we need to change the brand? And in many cases, we've done this now successfully, largely in the UK, we've up branded. So we took four or five of the brands. We negotiated with the hotel company, the international brand, and then we up branded the hotels, which again we were able to drive significant growth in the ADR. And then we get into it's not just physical plant. You know, this is a hard business. It's the hardest business in the world right now. It's 365, 24/7. It never sleeps.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what we do beyond the physical plant and the up branding or the upgrading is really looking at the staff situation and the level of service and just overall quality. So for us, that's where we've had a lot of success with portfolio deals like that. But certainly maximizing the brand and market segmentation, target markets is, when we take over properties, is often wrong. The sales and marketing team are just it's they're going after the wrong target market, or they've got they're discounting heavily, and they don't understand the market that they're in. And obviously we go in and we look at, I keep referring to it as an A to Z. I mean, we leave no stone unturned, and we look at every
Mm-hmm.
single of the business, all the way from the physical asset right through to the guest service delivery on the back end.
A very holistic approach.
Absolutely, with millions and millions of elements to it, but we certainly don't have enough time to talk about them.
You use the word culture. So not only the culture of the property, but I know that your company, Valor Hospitality Partners, has a unique culture of its own. So you're leading by example, and you employ more than 5,000 people, and you have coined a term for all of them involved in the daily running of the company. You use the term hotalitarians. What is a hotalitarian?
So I've never liked the term staff, associate, employee. I've always found it quite undermining. And probably this is maybe 3 years ago. I really probably at the start of COVID, and our culture is everything to us. So we were trying desperately not to let anybody go. And I worked with my agency to come up with a term that really put the employee where they should be on a pedestal, because they should be more important to you than your guest, because treated insincerely, you take a colossal risk that they'll do the same thing to the guest. And that's why there's such terrible customer service around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we came up with the term hotalitarian, which has kind of almost not in in a cult type way, but it's taken on a life of its own, which is fabulous. And I mean, ultimately, we want people to join us to be a hotelierian. We want them to stay with us for life. We really hope that
Mhm.
they have a long career where they get personal and professional growth throughout their career. And we think differently about training, and a lot of our training is around emotional intelligence, which is self-awareness, social awareness, self-confidence, and inside of that, we understand the world that we live in today. There is massive, massive anxiety. People have
Mhm.
come out of
Mhm.
COVID in a very different way fundamentally. And so we have a lot of health and wellness support programs. And we have future leader programs where we're wanting to make sure that the young leaders in the business can see a path to becoming an AGM or a GM. We have a culinary academy. We have lots of relationships with hotel schools, and we are in the biggest global staffing crisis of our lives. And really, that's partly because of COVID, and largely because this younger generation that are maybe coming out of university or looking to start a career, they're not thinking about hospitality today at a time when hospitality may be one of the best businesses you could possibly join. Because when I was growing up in the industry, it
Mhm.
was front of house, back of house, and kind of that was it. Today, you've got unbelievable array of opportunities, from the
Mhm.
environmental sustainability and corporate social responsibility piece I was talking about, through social media, digital marketing, revenue and yield management, accounting, human resource. There's so many amazing aspects to hospitality that it's an industry that we're spending a lot of time now actually promoting the business. So to wrap it all up, we have a very square peg and a round hole view of culture. It's a behavior. Uh,
Mhm.
Equally, our teams around the world are so important to us, and we understand that our success or failure is based on them. Hence, we wanted to put them in a class of their own, and so we come back to hotelierian.
I would like to apply to become a hotelist.
Great, we're doing some fun
Come on
stuff.
board. I'm sold. It sounds great. Because as you said, so I wanted to ask you, and you already gave me the answer that you do believe that there is, and you have, I guess, the data to support that there is an ongoing staffing crisis in the hospitality industry. So I think the employer branding is very important also for every company out there to attract the talent, to retain it, to make them, as you said, to have their own personal growth and grow better, and as professionals, as people, feel appreciated. You said that your employees or your hoteliers are put on a pedestal, because that's the only way to actually treat the guests in a similar manner. If they feel unappreciated, how they can deliver memorable experiences. By the way, now we're talking memorable experiences. You have warm regards from Joe Pine, the godfather of the experience economy. And I know we had a chat with you prior that the experience economy perhaps has gave you a lot of food for thought for everything you're and the way you're operating. Is that right?
Yeah, I read the book when Joe first came out with it, maybe in the late 90s, and I loved it. And then I was really fortunate to hear him speak at an event. We shared contact details, and he actually came. I got him to come and speak to my staff when I took over a resort in Georgia called Barnsley Gardens. And Joe and I have stayed in touch over the years. Pine and Gilmore were ahead of their time. Let's be honest. They like we as a company, we've talked about the asset, we've talked about the hotelierian, but we are absolutely obsessed about guest experience delivery, and we want guests to have memorable experiences. And I define that as the guests feeling better about who they are after they leave than before they arrived, and that's incredibly difficult to do. Hence why, as part of the training, we want our teams to be emotionally intelligent so they can read different situations and deliver on that. But when you think about the experience economy, and you know, that book is absolutely brilliant. But when they were talking about making experiences engaging or educational, obviously there's aesthetically pleasing and entertaining. That's how it should be. And actually, I think it's more relevant today than it probably was in the late 90s, because the guest today, it's a really, we're in a really interesting point in time, because we have a global staffing crisis where we're struggling to attract talent to deliver great service, but a time when the guest expectation is higher than ever. They're
Hmm.
willing to spend the money, and the way that they're going to get that experience is not just through the quality of the product and the property, it is through the service and the personalization of that service. So we're in a we've got an interesting wee crisis on our hands right now that we're trying to solve for. But yeah, Joe, yeah, I'm sure I'll be seeing him or talking to him again soon. I hope you have him on your tour. Maybe you've had him.
I'll have him after this episode. So, but this episode is about you, you McGlashan, and I want to come back to what you said. You spoke about the your global portfolio and your global team of hotalitarians. How important also is you touched upon the emotional intelligence, and we've heard Bashar Wali in one of the previous Travel Insights episode talk about exactly that. The two important elements he said in the success of every hospitality professional. The one is common sense, and the second is emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So I would like to pick your brain on the importance of understanding culture differences as well, because you have a global international team. There's the guests can come from all over the world with their own cultural mental software. So, is the cultural aspect also taken into consideration, and how people want to be treated, how the Finnish people would like to be greeted and treated, and how the Greeks and how the Scottish and how the Americans and so on? Do you have such? Is this in the back of your mind as well? Because we talk a lot about diversity and.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely on our minds. It's something in each of the regions that we operate. We're called Valor Hospitality Partners because we have partners or stakeholders in that region that are from that region. We take a lot of time when we go into new regions to really understand the cultural differences. But if we distill it all down, at the end of the day, a guest that's going to stay in a hotel, they do the same things as us. They check in, they go to their room, they unpack their case, they have a shower, they go somewhere for food. But it's always about how you make them feel. So I talk a lot about when a guest checks out, it's more than just how was your stay. It really should be how did we make you feel, and so we're driven by that. And I'm fortunate. I've lived around the world. A lot of our senior partners and executives have lived around the world, so we really do understand culture in a very meaningful way. That's more than loose words.
Mm. And as you said, the currency in hospitality is relationships and emotions. It's not the bed and the shower and the basic Maslow hierarchy of needs and the shelter above your head. I think the currency is really this personal connection. This is what creates memories. At least if I could think of myself, the places, the hotels I stayed are the ones that I was given great service, great personal connection, and even discussions with the people there working who cater to my needs, and even friendships, I would say, that I made along the way, even during a vacation stay or business. So, you talked about describing the Joe Pines work, that they were ahead of their times. Do you believe that you and your work has been ahead of its time? And what is the legacy you want to leave behind?
I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know if we're ahead of our time. I always say that originality is overrated, and let's just do the simple things brilliantly. Uh, and I what we're trying to do is do the simple things brilliantly. We've got some nice initiatives and some things that we're doing that are maybe cutting edge. But really we're just trying to do simple things brilliantly. And you get the simple things done brilliantly, I guarantee you, you're going to be successful in every aspect of hospitality. So we care about it. We talk about culture wrapped in commerciality. We absolutely care about our hotelitarians, number one. We absolutely care about our guests having a phenomenal experience where they feel better about themselves when they leave. We care about property quality, and all the aspects of that need to work. They need to work. And when we even talk, if we want to come back to what we were saying about hotel design, what are the things that are important to guests globally? Great night's sleep. Now, sleep is becoming a big issue in the world today. So we think a lot about mental health and wellness, but they want a great night's sleep. What do you need for a great night's sleep? You need a great bed, you need really good blackout shades, and you need really good soundproofing. They want to have a great shower. Make it great water pressure, fantastic shower experience, good lighting, USB power around the beds, technology that works. You walk into the hotel, Wi-Fi's there, you're live, things work. You walk into a lobby, you want to sit down and have a cup of coffee. You don't want music blaring, right? There can be music, but it has to be muted. And these are the things that we obsess about, is creating these spaces where we understand. We're almost like, in this business, you almost have to be a psychologist, but we're always thinking ahead. But if you think about all the things that I'm telling you, we're trying and striving to do the simple things brilliantly. We're not trying to be all tricksy and come up with the latest, greatest fad and cool concept, because generally when you see those, there's very little behind them that you can produce them over and over again, and you can be really consistent.
Hmm. Great. So do the simple thing brilliantly. Great. How about now if we look at the future and reimagining hospitality is today's topic and creating those future-proof, long-term successful hotels. What are, in your opinion, the biggest trends that will impact and shape the future of hospitality? Are there some already emerging? And which of those do you see really playing a vital role? And how do you see the future? Which trends and benchmarks should people in the business keep their eyes on and their antennas on? What do you think?
Well, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if I could predict the future. But we can certainly do all we can to create it. What do I think are things that are important? I
Let's
think that
watch this episode in a few years and see if you
yeah,
have
right.
future
Planet. I'm a big lover of nature and the planet. We're killing the
Mhm.
planet. I think it's the world is a mess, and we got to be careful. That was probably the only great thing that came out of COVID, was the planet's never been as healthy.
Mhm.
So we have to lower our carbon footprint. I think designing and building hotels with sustainability in mind is important today, but that's a subject that's going to continue to become even more important. So that's number one. I think that trends, I think food and beverage will become more relevant in hotels again, but certainly with a healthier mindset. I think the days of just all fried foods and burgers and chicken wings are those days are coming to an end. So there has to be a lot of healthy options. I think the hotel gym will change. I think they're becoming more important, but I think health and wellness. So wellness, physical wellness, and I think wellness, mental
Mental.
wellness. So I think a lot of hotels and resorts that are building today have big health and wellness components, which I think that will continue to be ever more omnipresent in our lives. Technology, I don't think we can get away from technology. I think one thing that COVID did was soft touch, low touch, cleanliness and hygiene. But I think as much as I kind of love it and hate it, but I think
Mm.
seamless ability in certain hotels is especially on business. To stand in long lines to check in, those days are gone. Everybody wants to be able to do it on mobile, to go straight to the room, use their digital key. So those are things that will continue to grow in importance. I think everything in life is full cycle. And I think we're seeing that. I think that guest experience and the guests' needs, wants, and desires from what they want to receive, certainly in that higher end full service. I think that we're going to come full circle. They're going to want to have the more of that face to face interaction. And then I guess you bring that back to technology so that the property management systems that the brands operate are independents. You know, they've historically been clunky, and to check a guest in can take a long time, and the guest service agent that's trying to check the guest in is spending so much time trying to make sure that they get the check-in right, that they're not actually conversing and saying, how are you feeling today, what can we do for you, what do we need, are you here for a special occasion? And they're not engaging. And I think that engagement is something that we're desperately trying to train and solve for. So yeah, I think these are probably the key. I could probably list you another 100, but I think of the most important. But we
Great.
certainly we got to lower our carbon footprint. That's for sure. And I think you watch sustainability; it'll become a hotter topic as every year goes by.
And your company wants to become, that's your vision, one of the leading hospitality companies for sustainability. And as you said, you're very passionate for protecting the planet and for nature. And I'm glad to hear that. Is there anything else you would like to add that you would like absolutely to share with our viewers and listeners?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll all know and sympathize that coming out of COVID, it is one of the hardest businesses in the world, and it's so reliant on people to make the asset successful, and that's what we have to focus on. And we need to attract new talent to the hospitality industry. So let's see. We're certainly doing our bit, and I hope everybody else continues to do the same.
Great. It was a great pleasure to have you here on Travel Insights. Euan McGlashan, thank you so much. Global co founder and CEO of Valor Hospitality. Partners, check out more information at valorhospitality.com. And of course, reach out to Euan McGlashan on social media. Right?
Yeah, social media, email, phone. I'm still an old fashioned guy, but feel free to pick up the phone and call me.
Oh, that's great. I call you on your birthday, perhaps.
Perfect.
Great.
Super.
Thank you so much. Have a nice rest of the day and a safe flight. This was Travel Insights. Every Wednesday, I have the chance to speak to inspirational thought leaders from the tourism, hospitality, aviation industries with unique insights for me and for you out there. Thank you for tuning in and listening. And I'll see you next Wednesday for another episode of Travel Insights. If you want to reach out to me, make sure you email me and my colleagues at press@traveldailynews.com. And yes, thank you for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye.